Hey everyone, back to give an update to my build. It is mainly using Stormblast Bolts and
Reload.
Explosive Shot. I'm no longer using Explosive Grenade. I got a lot of comments both on Reddit under Path of Exile 2 builds and both in the YouTube comments saying that the delay in the grenades is not going to pan out very well in later maps. I never really tried it. I switched it up probably around tier 7 or 8 in Waystones. I it has pros and cons. I can absolutely see what people are saying about the delay in the explosion because I have died prior uh, y- to doing that. Um, so yeah, I get it, and I do like explosive shot better. But I'll go through some pros and cons towards the end before the map run that I do. But right now, I just want to go over the differences. Right now, my gem setup, I don't use all of these. Crossbow shot, you're never going to use that really. I just have these here as placeholders for if I'm going to do a boss, so I'll explain that in a second. But my explosive shot, as you can see, I really only have the 3 circles. I've only ever found one, I guess, what is this, a greater whatever the hell it is. Again, I'm not the best PoE player. I don't have a PhD in PoE, and this is really the first build that I've ever just homegrown in the 1,000+ hours in PoE one. But I came up with this build prior to early access release, and I just really wanted to make it work. I can do tier 15 maps with it. I really haven't tried anything above that. That's where I'm currently at. So explosive shot, this is the detonator for Stormblast Bolts. Right now I just have Fire Infusion, which is 25% extra fire damage. Rising Tempest, for every type of damage you deal, this gives 12% more elemental damage. So this is pretty much going to be at a constant 24% with Stormblast Bolts and Rising Tempest. And then I have Magnified Effect here because there's only one bolt that loads at a time in Explosive Shot, and I don't really uh, want to have to sit there and try and fire off multiple to explode the Stormblast bolts. If you're not familiar with Stormblast bolts, what this is, it is an initial hit on enemies when it rains down from the sky, sort of like Rain of Arrows. So what it looks like is this, and they will drop at a different spot each time, but there will almost always be one that drops right around wherever the mouse marker is, and then you can use Explosive Shot to explode them all. That's what I want to try and do. The explosion is really what we want. Explosion has a radius, so the more enemies that you can hit with each explosion, the more damage you are going to do. So the gem setup here is Lightning Infusion, which is more lightning damage. Scatter Shot, which gets 2 additional projectiles right off the bat. Each one only does 3, but if you have that, then it's 5. It's really meant to be like this, I think, because there's a maximum of 30 active bolts. So, and you have 5 bolts in your before you have to reload, thus 30. Uh, then after Scatter Shot, I went Heft to get more physical damage. Everything here is based off of physical damage. So you can see the initial hit converts 60% Fizz to Lightning, but then the explosion, which is really all we care about, converts 100% physical to Lightning. And then Primal Armament, which is just 25% more elemental damage. My spirit buffs, I have Herald of Thunder. Um, I never really got this to work. I was trying to experiment a lot with Stormfire. I don't even know if this really works in Herald of Thunder, so I probably wouldn't even have this in here. Lightning Penetration, and then Cannibalism. 4% life recovered on kill, which is awesome because there really isn't a lot of life anything we can really do. Plasma Blast and Emergency Reload. I use these really only when I remember, if I'm being completely honest. Wind Dancer. I think this is fantastic because 19% more evasion rating per stage. When you have the gem maxed out, you have 4 stages. So that's 76% more evasion when that's full before you get hit. When you do get hit, it triggers Gale Force, which is basically just like an AoE. Doesn't really do much other than knock some enemies back. 5% to critical chance, cool. But when it does trigger, I have Pin to see if it can just pin the enemies in place. But more importantly, Maim, which slows enemies, and then Blind, which will give all enemies a 20% less accuracy. It is not a 100%, you know, accuracy debuff to enemies. It's only 20%. Voltic Mark, um, more damage against shocked enemies. Cool. I have Persistence to make it last longer, and then I have Innervate. Again, I don't even know if this really works, but in my mind it does. So the other thing, last thing, Herald of Ash, and then I just have Vitality supporting it just for that life regen. Whirlpower Ballista. I was really hoping this would be a lot cooler. I don't really care about its damage. What the hell? I have no idea. It didn't. Oh, that's emergency reload. Okay, so here's the Ripwire Ballista. You have the 3 gems I have with it. Go over the gems quick. Faster placement, cool. But then I have Font of Rage and Font of Blood. Font of Blood is life regen, and then Font of Rage is more damage. But unfortunately, you can see the buffs here. This is more attack damage the longer I stay in the area, but the area is really not that big. Like right now, I'm out of the area. Considering your life pool, my life pool anyway is 2,500. No energy shield. Movement is very key, so you can't really stay in the same spot that often. But at least I can say in confidence that Explosive Shot, Stormblast Bolt, and most of my other gems are set up correctly. Emergency reload, I just have really premeditation and ingenuity. Faster cooldown, cool. And then for Plasma Blast, I would just try to have it crit. Again, inevitable critical and ambush on that. I, to be honest, rarely use that. I'm a very simple kind of build person. I just want 2 buttons at most. This is 3 with Voltic Mark. So, skill tree. Majorly different. I don't have my 4th Ascendancy point. I really only went for it once. If or when I even care about getting it, I'm just going to run Witchbane. I just don't see it being super worth it without No Mercy. But the Zealous Inquisition, I'm finding triggers a lot and really helps with map clear speed. So if you're going to do this leveling, there really isn't a lot of respecking or anything that you really have to do. Come right down here, get all the projectile damage. All right, that's really all this is. Fork over here, get your armor and evasion rating. Those are 4 very powerful nodes here for what they are. I would come over here next and just start doing more damage with 2-handed weapons. Reduced attack speed is not a killer. It's really not. I'll show in a second. But the 40% damage is awesome, and then increased area of effect. The larger the area effect of the explosions, the more enemies can get hit by explosions, and thus the more damage we want to do. I initially had coming over here to get these nodes here, but I just kind of found that wasn't really that helpful for the cost of those 5 skills. Thought those could be allocated in a better place. Here's a little bit of movement speed if you kill recently, but this here, after this, I would just come right down to this, because the crossbow reload speed, it's going to feel so much better. I don't think you'll have Stormblast Bolts unlocked at this point, but it doesn't matter what skill you're using. It's just going to feel a lot better. I think I used Incendiary Shot to level up, really. Then I would come down here, get all of the elemental damage with attacks, it doesn't matter what you're using. Here's Ignite, Freeze, Shock, and Electrocute buildup, and then here is just flat damage penetration. This key node here, Lightning Rod, what this does, lightning damage to non-critical hits is lucky, basically rolls the damage twice and picks out the higher one. Lightning damage has a very wide range of what it can hit, so if we come here, lightning damage, 350 to 1659. So if you're rolling this twice, you're going to get a lot better of a result. yes, it could be 350 or 351, but there's going to be some sort of variance between them. You obviously want the bigger one. Let's see, then I would just come down to the crossbow here, get these. Again, more reload speed. It's just going to feel so much better. To be honest, this helps in explosive shot, but to be honest, for Stormblast, it kind of sucks. Um, it just kind of messes with the tempo. It's not going to hinder anything in a bad way. It's just in my mind, I count, when I'm dropping things down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then reload. The reload can then come like it can just mess it up because sometimes you'll reload on 2 shots, sometimes you reload on 4 shots eventually, and yeah, it's very nitpicky, but this 25% increased damage with crossbows. This kind of ties into uh, the one gem I was going over earlier. You're going to be using Stormblast Bolt and you're going to be using Explosive Shot. So this is basically just going to be 50% damage all the time because you're going to be using those within 10 seconds. Over here, there is Area of Effect. Again, you want that just to get the enemies to get hit by as many explosions as possible. Evasion rating as armor, and evasion rating with armor on gloves. So you clearly want your gloves to have armor. I have 390 on this. It's not the highest roll ever, but it's really kind of what I could afford. I'm not the richest player ever. I only have so much time to play. But then that's just another 390 in evasion. So it's kind of like double dipping there. Here is damage against uniques. So this is more for bossing and uniques. This is a great node for mapping. Really no reason not to get this when you literally have everything here. Again, here's 16%, 16%, 16%. So this is huge. These 2 nodes here, they kind of are the polar opposite of each other. Like this is 100% increased evasion rating if you've been hit recently. This is 100% if you haven't been hit recently, but then there's a reduction if you have, and then reduction if you have not. So this is basically 70% if you get 2 of these for evasion. Come up here to get acrobatics, but I would really only get acrobatics if you're going to have probably like 55% post acrobatics of evasion rating. Like right now I have 67, and that does include the Wind Dancer buff. But these 2 keynotes here are awesome. Double the evasion rating of your body armor, and then more dex, 30% increased evasion. That's great. So this, I don't have the highest evasion rating on my armor. I don't even have Spirit on here, which I would like. If you could get armor that has 900 plus, that would be very ideal. The 70% or less evasion rating, it does take a hit clearly, but the evasion that you can, what you can evade, to my understanding, is basically AoE damage attacks, slam attacks, things like that. It does not count for like magical projectiles, right? So that you still need your resistances. Then since we're running 2 heralds, here's some more just more damage buff. So basically just double everything because we have fired sort of. So this will work with 50% off the lightning damage, 50% off fire damage, and then here's just flat 12% for not each herald, but just having a herald up. That's really the skill tree in a nutshell. You want to go for evasion. You want to go for just physical damage. You want to go for any sort of elemental damage. It'll all help increase your DPS. So jewels, to be honest, I haven't found a lot that I like. I tried going increased attack speed and reload speed because I really wanted to drop my Stormblast bolts as quickly as possible and have as minimal time switching as possible between the two shots. But if we go to let's go to Stormblast, right? So if we're looking here and we look to attack speed, attacks per second is, 1.47. If we take this out, it is literally 6/100ths of a second that it's helping us. 4% is the max you can get on a jewel. It's it's a lot of investment for, in my opinion, a very little payoff. Yeah, and then the reload speed, it helps, but it's really not that noticeable. I would probably, if you really want to, stack attack speed, go for it. I'd probably go more for, where's another one of my gems? Probably something like this. I have some attack speed, then evasion and lightning damage. I think the flask effect was the corrupted part of this, but I mean, cool. Oh yeah, so here's another lightning damage. Here's evasion rating. If you can get like physical damage, that's probably better than lightning damage because even explosive shot calculates off that. This is probably my best jewel. I can't be blinded. Thank you, corruption. So those are my jewels. Gear. I've already showed you some. This is not the, end all be all crossbow. I think, yeah, it is 461 DPS. Oh no, 512. I'm sorry. I want a 600 plus, but I do not even have a divine. That's going to be an awesome physical roll, but then there's probably going to be something like, adds X amount to physical. This is increased attack speed. Great. Like I said, it really doesn't do all that much, but I guess it adds up. Then basically just make sure you get your resistances. I always try and stack a little bit of stats, dexterity, strength, int, because that's really based on what kind of skills you can have, how high you can level them. Not the best gear in the world, but it's certainly not bad. It does the job for tier 15. So next, just real quick pros and cons. Then I'll just go into a map, show what the playstyle is like. Pros, things explode. Who doesn't like explosions? It is big damage. It is not slow damage or small chunks of damage rapidly. It is just something has a lot of life and then they die. It's non-meta, which is kind of cool because then if you're looking for something very niche, it can be cheaper. Bad news, it's lightning damage and galvanic shards and shock and a whole bunch of lightning stuff is the meta. So while it's not meta, some of the stuff you want is, and that kind of sucks. There are no required uniques. You can level with this build. There's no really huge swapping. There's no, change, 30 of your skill tree points, which in this game it's not bad. I've probably changed my skill tree. I don't even know how many times. I tried a lot, like a lot. Cons, and these are probably why I would not do really anything with a crossbow again. Nothing to do with the skills. It's very clunky. There have been times I'll be dropping Stormblast, right? And then I'll go to my explosive shot. For whatever reason, it's not shooting. It's not loading. When you dodge like this, if I want to switch shots, like if I'm on Stormblast Bolts here, and I want to switch to explosive shot while rolling, I'm trying to click my right mouse button. It's not doing it. It can't swap shots while dodging, which is a pain in the ass. It might not seem like much, but when you're in the thick of it and you're trying to basically survive, it's a pain. Reload speed, clunkiness, setup time. I do not do rituals. I do not do breaches because the monsters are spawning at such a speed that by the time I can even do that, I'm very surrounded. It might not seem like much, but it really is. Expedition is really what I've been trying to make currency off of, and what I try to do maps with. But really, that's it. If a breach could be okay if it's in an open map, if it's in a small corridor, I I just would run by it and not even do it. It's not worth the 10% XP loss. Uh, I just one complaint. I wish attack speed would scale a lot better. For what you get and what the return is, it's just not worth it to me. I'd rather have the big damage. I don't even know how much total attack speed I have in my passive tree and gems and gear, but this, and this is me moving at max speed while attacking. It's just not. It's not great. I just am not that much of a fan. So I'll just do a map now. You can see, see if you want to play this by yourself, but this is probably the final. I am level 88. I'm going to try to do these 2 nodes here for 90. That way I'll have some crit. After that, I think that might be it. That might be my goal. I can say I set off to do my first ever build by myself. I've never done that. I've always followed a guide, so I can say I'm happy with my accomplishment. It might not seem like much, but I am. So I hope everybody has a great day. And if you want to try this build, I wish you all the luck. It is fun. It is fun watching things just go boom. All right. Thanks all. Have a great one.
Simple enough. Better than coin. Another notch on the helmet. Bloody beautiful! Weak animal! On me helmet. No room.